Welcome back, guys, to a brand new YouTube video. We are here, this is day one of CPAC, and today I'm with Perry Johnson. He has a lot of exciting things in the works. I'm gonna let him talk, and yeah, let's get to know Perry Johnson some more. What got you into politics?
Well, I thought the country was moving in the wrong direction. And realistically, right now, we're spending too much money. And every time that they spend that money, it causes prices to go up. A lot of people don't realize that the only reason that we're spending $3 for gas or $4.50, $5 for eggs is that the government decided to put all this money out there. So they're spending your money. And the problem with that is that they're not only spending your money, they're actually borrowing it from China. So what happens is that the government becomes less secure. We are spending this money, making all their lives worse. And instead of having a situation where people get to keep their money, we have the government spending as much as possible. And what I wanted to do was to change that. So my idea, I wrote a book, 2 Cents to Save America. Very simple concept. I'm going to change the way that they do things. Right now, the government's incentivized to spend every penny they have. So if they have a budget, no matter what that budget is, they're going to make sure every dollar of that is spent by the end of the year so they can get more money the next year. Well, that's not a way you run a business. Yeah. Instead, we incentivize them to cut the budget 2%. So all discretionary spending is cut 2%. If they do, they get a bonus. Now keep in mind that I'm considered the quality guru. I have spent my whole life bringing quality to companies. In the last 35 years, even though I started with nothing, I didn't have the money to go to college, I always believed in the American dream. And for me, it came true. And I have brought literally tens of thousands of jobs to tens of thousands of companies in the United States.
That's amazing.
And I brought quality to all these companies, and they're all more efficient. Now, do you think we have quality with Biden?
Not so much. No, not so much. And what I like to hear is you actually understand economics and what makes inflation happen. You know, it seems like it's just brain surgery for a lot of people that they're like, why is prices so expensive? But you actually understand how economics works.
I think the people are starting to realize that, because you've got to keep in mind, we did not have inflation for 20 years. They were trying to give us inflation. They couldn't do it because of the fact that you have the world economy participating. Right. But when the government threw so much money out there that it was bizarre, what could happen except inflation? Just like the California gold rush. You know, in California during the gold rush, if you wanted to have a meal for 2 eggs, a bottle of beer, and a piece of toast, it was $1,200 in today's dollars.
I did not know that. Oh, wow.
That's a room. Gamblers would come in because they thought they'd make a fortune. Right. They had to spend $10,000 for a room. Why? Because there was so much money out there. Yeah. When the governments go and spend all that money, every time they're spending money, they're really spending your money. Yes. And they're causing you to have to pay more for everything that you have. Now, my 2 cent plan, 2 Cents to Save America, just go to perryjohnson.com. You can get a copy of the book, and I laid out my 10-point plan. It'll solve the problem.
Well, let me also ask, speaking about policies, what policies do you hold, and kind of what's your values, and what would you like to implement into America?
Well, it depends on values. Values, we start that I'm the most conservative guy on the planet. I'm probably too conservative for this place, which is hard saying something.
What makes you so conservative?
Well, I'm pro-life, right? I'm pro-Second Amendment, I'm pro-American worker, I'm pro-freedom, I am anti-woke to an extreme extent, I am anti-China, I think they are dangerous, I do not trust Biden, I mean, I don't trust, by the way, I don't trust Putin in any way, and the reality is, I think it's kind of ridiculous to send $100 billion over to the Ukraine when we're going broke here. Yeah. I mean, can you think of anything nuttier?
No, it makes no sense. How can you be so much money in debt and then fund hundreds of millions of dollars to a foreign nation?
Well, it's more than that. Who really has the problem with Ukraine? It's those in Europe. Shouldn't they be giving the money to the Ukraine? Why should we be the ones giving the most money to the Ukraine?
I think it all ties back to the Biden family.
It does. Because Biden has that relationship. So they had a relationship with Ukraine, they had a relationship with China, and when you take a look at what's going on, we need to implement my 2 cent plan. If we want to have this problem solved, we have to have a way in which the government starts to have quality.
Yes.
And how are we going to do that? We implement my 2-cent plan. 2 cents to save America is the answer to everything. I say, fire Biden, implement my 2-cent plan, and we keep America the greatest country there ever was.
Amen. And how do you plan on unifying the nation?
Well, the reality is that we have a way of coming together. If they see the plan, they look at the 2-cent plan, they say, yes, it makes sense, and then people suddenly realize they don't like the idea of spending $4.50 for eggs, and they realize they don't like spending $3 for gas instead of $1.75, and they would like the idea of being able to buy a house.
Yes.
Imagine you.
I'm about to look for my first home. Yes.
Can you imagine how ridiculous it is? 2 years ago, in Troy, where my office is, the cost to buy a home, the average home was 3,000 square feet. It was going to cost about $2,150. Now it costs $4,500 a month. So it went from $2,150 with 7% down to $4,500 with 7% down.
Yeah,
Thanks to Biden.
I know where I live in my hometown, it was about $160,000 for about a 1,700 square foot house, and now it's well over $300,000 for that same house.
What about the interest you have to pay to borrow the money? You see, when you go and you buy eggs, you don't have to borrow money to buy those eggs. So actually, that cost is nowhere near the cost of buying a home because you have to borrow. And because of the fact that they've spent all this money, we have all of the interest rates so high that it's killing us. Even the government, do you know that the government is spending now anywhere from 100% more to 4,000% more to borrow the money than they did 2 years ago?
I did not know that. Wow.
Yeah, right now it's costing the government over 4%, right between 4.2 and 4.8% to borrow money. They could borrow it for as low as 1/10% just a matter of 2 years ago. That's because Biden's spending all that money. So I'm telling you, we need my 2-cent plan.
And it makes sense. What Americans care about the most right now, the statistics say, is inflation. Inflation is the #1 issue surrounding Americans today. And it sounds to me like you have inflation all figured out and the cure in fixing and restoring America and what it used to be.
Not only that, not only will we cure inflation, by doing this, keep in mind, we keep Social Security secure. We keep Medicare secure because the economy is the key to everything. Isn't that the key to defense?
Yes, it is.
Think about how did we really defeat the Soviet Union? We did it because of our economy. They couldn't keep up with us.
Right.
Right? What about the fall of Rome? Why did Rome fall? Because they couldn't pay the soldiers. Our economy is the key to everything. And that 2-cent plan solves the problem. So keep in mind, 2 cents to save America really is the key. I know it sounds simple. It's something we can do. And America has a history of doing the impossible, don't we?
So true. Last thing here. Here at Go USA, we're the first ever political credit rating system. It's patented and trademarked, so it judges politicians based off 2 aspects. Are you working for the Constitution, and are you working for the will of the majority of the American people? So for instance, I always use this example, late trimester abortions. About 10% of the U.S. population actually supports late trimester abortions, yet politicians do support that. So if you're one of those politicians, you get a negative opportunity score because you're not working for the majority of the American people. But then if you support something like voter ID, in which the majority does support, statistics show, and you're a politician that supports it, then you would get a positive opportunity score. What do you think about a system like that? And do you think that that would be efficient in restoring America and kind of making an end to some of the problems we have today?
Well, I like the idea of coming up with a system because I'm a statistics guy. And I believe in numbers. So if there's a way of analyzing the numbers and making sense out of them, then people understand what you're saying. Remember, I founded my first company on the whole idea of statistics. And I remember when I was still working at Borg Warner, I would go to Monty Clark's home on Wednesday night. He was the Lions coach. And I would explain to him that everything has to be analyzed statistically. And we would spend the night going over all the plays. Now, of course, that's a way of life for all teams. But at the time, it was totally avant-garde.
Wow.
I ended up going into business because, frankly, there's a lot more money in business. And when I was able to help America and bring all those quality issues to the forefront, we were able to help all the American companies. Now, what I want to do is the same thing with the government, hence my 2-cent plan.
Yes.
We're going to always keep in mind 2 Cents to Save America. Go to perryjohnson.com. You can get a copy of that book. That is really the key to success. We can follow that, and what happens in that process will end up firing Biden and keeping America the great country it's always been.
Amen. Well, it sounds like you have it all figured out. God bless you, and thank you for your time, sir. You guys can learn more at, you said perryjohnson.com. perryjohnson.com. We will make sure to tag that in the description if you guys would like to learn more. Thank you guys so much for tuning in, and we'll see you guys later.